For example, we have the DC jack. You should always check the component near the DC jack, because this component here are usually protection components. If the inductor is connected to the ground here, means we have short circuit. So here we have the power rail, 5-volt power rail, okay? And here we have the ground. So assume that this inductor is connected to the ground here. Means we have short circuit, means the 5-volt is connected to the ground, okay? So that's why I told you that the inductors can never be connected to the ground. Here we have the trick. We use it to detect the short circuit, because the inductors can never be connected to the ground. So if I find any inductor that is connected to the ground, means we have short circuit in that circuit where the inductor belongs. Hi guys, so welcome to another part on how to diagnose and repair a dead laptop motherboard. So basically we have seen 4 parts until now, so we're gonna continue with the part number 5, so on how to diagnose and repair the dead laptop motherboards. So let's continue our course right now. Okay, we have seen the BIOS, okay, and let's see, yes, here, how to diagnose a dead laptop motherboard. We have seen that. In this part, how to diagnose a dead laptop motherboard. To diagnose the laptop motherboard, you should check the following parts in order. So always when you get or you receive a dead motherboard, you should always follow some steps. You should never go directly and use your multimeter and test component or remove and install component. No, this is wrong. There is always a process that every technician should follow. The technician that use a logical in their maintenance. You should always follow some steps. So the first step, when you get the laptop, of course, you should check its state, of course, its status, external status. Is it okay? Is it damaged? Is it broke or something like that? Okay, then you should check the laptop adapter. Okay, the adapter, of course, you will check to power on the motherboard if the laptop. If the laptop want to turn on, okay, then the first step is to check its adapter. Is it okay or not? And of course, you can check the battery. You can try to turn it on using the battery alone, and of course using the adapter alone. Okay, when you find that the adapter is okay, it gives the 19-volt or 18-volt depending on the type of the laptop, then you should move on directly and of course open the laptop in order to get to the motherboard. Of course, here I can add between these 2 steps, you can press the power button. Okay, so let me show you. So here we have the power button, the power switch of the laptop. So you can use this technique. You can just push the power button and hold it about 30 seconds or just 20 seconds after removing the battery and the power adapter. Then press the power button about 20 seconds. Sometimes in the motherboard, in some components, especially capacitors, it stocks some electric current. Okay, so when you push this power button, you let the laptop to eliminate all stock of energy in its components, and then it could be powered on. Okay, so after you check, as I told you before, after you check the laptop adapter, then you should move on to the power jack. But before checking the power jack, you should first do a visual inspection in the whole motherboards in order to see if all components in the motherboard are okay or not. As I told you before, many technicians and engineers, of course, neglect the visual inspection, but me, I cannot neglect it, because using just the visual inspection, you can detect about 50% of problems. So you should do a visual inspection, then check the power jack. So the power jack basically is one of the most important parts in the motherboard, of course, because the power jack is connected to external world or the outside. So the power jack is the bridge between the motherboard and the input power. That's why if there is a problem with the power jack, so the motherboard cannot receive the voltage, then of course it will be a dead motherboard. So always please pay attention to power jack. Check its terminals, check its state, is it damaged or not, etc. Okay? Then of course, after that, after the visual inspection, after checking the power jack, you can check the MOSFETs near to power jack. Of course, you can find MOSFETs or fuses or diodes, protection diode, etc. That's why here, for example, we have the DC jack. You should always check the component near the DC jack, because this component here are usually protection components. You can find inductors like this, you can find ceramic capacitors, diodes, MOSFETs, etc. So please always check the state of components around the power jack, and of course in the charge circuit. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. The next step, as you can see, the presence of VBAT about 19 volt in the motherboard. Of course, the same as I told you before. Of course, you should check 19 volt in the MOSFETs near the power jack or in ceramic capacitors near to the power jack. Okay, then move on to 3 volt 5 volt power system or circuit, because the 3 volt 5 volt circuit have to always be present in the motherboard. Without pressing the power button, you should get 3 volt and 5 volts in the motherboard. Okay, so check for 3 volt and 5 volt always. Then I will show you all this in the next part. How to check 3 volt, 5 volts, how to check CPU core, how to check RAM voltage, etc. Don't worry about that. Then you should check the 3 volt in the pin number 8 of the BIOS. So for the BIOS here, this is basically the schematic of the BIOS. Okay, so 8 pins. Here we have 8 pins. Always in pin number 8 you will find 3.3 volt without pressing the power button. Okay, so if you use the multimeter, and of course you put the black probe here in the ground and the red probe in the pin number 8 of the BIOS, you will find 3 volt. So if 3 volt is missing here, means it could be the problem of 3 volt 5 volt circuit. Okay, so if you find that all these voltages are good, then you should program or flash the BIOS. So when you check all these voltages and you find that all these voltages are present, are good, means you don't have problem with the voltage in the motherboard. In this case, automatically you should go ahead and flash the BIOS, the basic input output system, because the program inside it could be the corrupted program. Okay, now let's move on to how to check for a short circuit in the motherboard. So I will show you a circuit you can use to troubleshoot the short circuit in any motherboard. The circuit is the inductor. So the inductor, this is basically a very important trick that you can use to detect the short circuit in just seconds. 10 seconds, 15 seconds is enough to find and to detect the short circuit in the motherboard using this trick. I'm going to show you right now this trick. So here, as you can see, here we have inductors. You can find this kind of inductors in the laptop motherboard and even in the computer motherboard. So you can find this one. Of course, this one you can find it in the computer motherboard. This is basically SMD inductors. This one, and this one are SMD inductors, and this one is we call it THT inductor or True Hole Technology inductor. As you can see, we have here 2 terminals, but here this is surface. Okay, that's why we called it SMD or surface mounted device. So this is the symbol for inductor. So inductor or coils are never or can never be connected to the ground. So this is a rule. A rule in the motherboards, you can never find an inductor that is connected to the ground. Rule. Okay? So in every motherboard, the inductor or coil can never be connected to the ground. Always the inductor in the computer or laptop motherboard is connected to the power rail. Okay, power rail. For example, here we have inductor. It is connected to 3-volt power rail. Here the inductor is connected to 5-volt power rail. Here also the inductor, as you can see, is connected to 1.8-volt power rail. Okay. No ground here. It cannot be connected to the ground. If the inductor is connected to the ground here, means we have short circuit. So here we have the power rail, 5-volt power rail, okay? And here we have the ground. So assume that this inductor is connected to the ground here. Means we have short circuit. Means the 5-volt is connected to the ground. Okay? So that's why I told you that the inductors can never be connected to the ground. That's why here we have the trick. We use it to detect the short circuit because the inductors can never be connected to the ground. So if I find any inductor that is connected to the ground, means we have short circuit in that circuit where the inductor belongs. Okay? So here we have, so always the inductor in the computer or laptop motherboard is connected to the power rail. So if you find any inductor that is connected to the ground, means you have a short circuit in that circuit that the inductor belongs to it. 100%. Proof. Here we have the proof. Let's take a look to the schematics of some circuits of laptop motherboard. So here we have plus 3-volt power rail. Okay, here we have plus 3-volt power rail. Here we have a pad. I called it the test point because you can use this to check or to test whether you have 3-volt or not. And of course, here we have two capacitors. This is basically ceramic capacitor. We have 1 microfarad 10 volts. And this is not ceramic capacitor. This is polarized or chemical capacitor. Polarized because here we have plus and minus. Its capacity is 330 microfarad 4 volts. Okay, these two, as you can see, capacitors are connected to the ground and then connected to the inductor. Do you see? The inductor is always connected to the positive terminal. As you can see, it is connected to 3-volt always. Okay. So let's see another power rail. Here we have plus 5-volt power rail. As you can see, we have 5-volt power rail. So here we have 5-volt power rail. Always you will find a pad or a test point here, where of course you can check whether you get this 5-volt or not. And of course here we have the inductor. Do you see? Inductor connected directly to 5 volts. Okay. Positive terminal, and here of course connected to the positive terminal of this polarized capacitor and also of this capacitor, and these two capacitors are connected to the ground. So for example, if you get a short circuit here, if you check this inductor and you find a buzzer or you find a very low resistance using the multimeter between the inductor and the ground, means what? Means this 5-volt power rail is connected to the ground. Means we have a short circuit. And the cause of this short circuit could be this capacitor or this capacitor, because these two capacitors are connected to the ground. And of course, it could be also the IC, because in this side we have the IC, the integrated circuit, and of course many MOSFETs. We're gonna see all these details in the next parts. Okay, so here we have another power rail. We're gonna see also two power rails over here. We have 1.8-volt power rail and 1.5-volt power rail. Basically, these two voltages are for RAM and for chipsets. Okay, so we have 1.8-volt power rail. We have inductor connected to 1.8 volt power rail, we have always the path that you can use to check whether you get 1.8 volt or not. We have capacitors, we have here MOSFETs. Okay, good. So for VBAT here you will find always 19 volts that will be applied to this MOSFETs and this MOSFETs, and after receiving the control signals, here we have gate, and here we have drain source. After receiving the control signal, we will get here 1.8 volts. Okay, here for 1.5 power rail, as you can see, also we have here inductor is connected directly, as you can see, to power rail, or exist in the power rail path, as you can see. Okay, no ground here. If you check the inductor using the multimeter and you get a very low resistor, 0 or 0.1, or you get a buzzer, means here you have a short circuit. Why? Because the inductor can never, or have to never be connected to the ground. Okay, sorry for my English. So if you get a short circuit here, means you have problem here. One of these capacitors are shorted, or even this MOSFET could be shorted because it is connected to the ground in this side, and here in this side we have the IC. Okay, I think so. How to troubleshoot the short circuit? So let's see how to troubleshoot the short circuit using the multimeter. So put the multimeter to the buzzer or continuity option. Here we have the continuity option or the diode. We called it also buzzer. Okay, option, and check all inductors in that motherboard. So you can, of course, to check or to find the short circuit, or to look for where is exactly the short circuit in the motherboard, you should of course use the multimeter. Okay, so you should choose this option in the multimeter, the diode option or the buzzer option, because usually or always you will find the diode and the buzzer option in the same grid or same place. Okay, then what should you do? So you should check all inductors, in the motherboard. Okay, all inductors should not give to you a low resistance to the ground or buzzer. If you find any inductor that is connected to the ground, means you have a short circuit. Okay, I told you that, but before summarizing, please don't forget to subscribe and to like the video if you find the video is a good video. And for guys that not yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, because I will share with you in a daily basis many videos like this video, and of course about schematics, how to troubleshoot motherboard using schematic, how to detect short circuit, how to remove, how to diagnose the motherboard step by step, how to repair dead motherboards, etc. Okay, and of course I have a Patreon page that I invite you to join me in it, because in the Patreon page I can be in touch with you very closely. Okay, and of course in the Patreon page I upload in a daily basis many laptop schematics, many useful information, many unique tips and tricks and secrets in order to be a very good technician or engineer in this field. So please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, join me in the Patreon page, of course, for anyone who wants. And of course I have a website where I posted this article. For anyone who wants to check my website, I will put the link in the description box. You are very welcome, guys. So let's continue and let's summarize. So I told you that the inductor can never be connected to the ground. Good. So how can we use this rule in order to detect short circuit? Because the inductor can never be connected to the ground, we find it always in the power rails, as you can see here, always in the power rail. So if we find any inductor that is shorted to the ground, means automatically we have short circuit in that place. That's why I told you, I don't remember, maybe in the first part or second part. For me, you can give me any laptop or any motherboard computer, I will detect the short circuit before 15 seconds. I need just 15 seconds or less, and I will detect the short circuit for you. Very easy, using this method. Okay, of course, for the first time, you can need 2 minutes, 3 minutes, etc. in order to identify the coils, the inductors, and the motherboard, etc. But when you use this method every day, it's simple. 10 seconds is enough to detect the short circuit, and of course, after detecting the short circuit, of course, you will use another process on how to detect exactly the cause of the short circuit. I'm going to share with you all this knowledge, all this experience. Just follow me and continue checking my YouTube channel, and you will be, I guarantee for you that you will be a very professional technician engineer. Thank you very much, and see you in the part 6 with another topic or another part, how to check the serviceability of the SIO IC. We're gonna see in the next part how to check the serviceability of SIO and how to check the BIOS serviceability. We're gonna discuss the BIOS pinout. We're gonna discuss each pin, its function. We're gonna discuss, of course, how to check motherboard ports connector, etc. So the next part 5. Thank you very much. And of course, please don't forget to let me know in the comment below if you like this kind of content or not.